I think if Frenchie was gonna open his heart, because Frenchie is such a cautious little creature. I think if he was gonna open his heart to anyone, Wee John would be a very safe person to open his heart to, and vice versa. I think they make sense together. Obviously, we have this in canon, and that they're roommates in their little room, and like how quickly they get along and understand each other, and like, yeah, we're gonna set this up. This is our reading nook, and blah blah blah. But I think that.
Hello and welcome. Today we are talking about our lovely gentle giant, our amazing pyro drag queen, the best seamstress in the 7 seas. It's the Wee John episode.
Yay!
Yay!
On the pod with me this week is Andrea, an aspiring seamstress and lover of costumes. Say hello, Andrea.
Hello! And by aspiring seamstress, I mean I can't even pick up a needle and thread, but if I could, I would, Like I would like to, but I won't.
I think that's the definition of aspiring.
Of aspiring. Yeah,
you.
You're correct. Perfect. We also have here Chloe, lover of gender fuckery. Say hello, Chloe.
Hello, hello, hello.
Wonderful. Welcome. And I'm Belle, your resident horny imp, of course. Let's kick things off with our first question as we start every episode. What's the most gay pirate thing that's happened to you this week?
I finally put on my stickers. I don't know why I'm showing you because this is an audio experience, but I'm still holding up my water bottle. But I finally put on my Pia Beach sticker from when I went to Aotearoa and went to Pia Beach, which is where they set up the inn. And now my water bottle looks really cool. And that's my gay pirate thing.
I love it. Chloe, what about you?
I did go to Pride today, but I feel like it was like chaotic, don't have my shit together bi person going to Pride because I was really wanted to see Willem, who Andrea said was her favorite drag queen ever and that it would change my life.
The queen of my heart.
And I was late and I missed her. So I missed her by about 5 minutes, but it was still a wonderful time. I was really happy to see how many people were there. I remember hearing discussion online after the election what Pride was going to be like this year because it's not a very good or safe time to be a queer person. And of course, there were some people saying that they might not feel comfortable going. And then there were other people saying like, no, it's going to be fucking lit. Let's go. And that's how it felt. It was huge. It was awesome.
That is amazing. I love it. Protest. That's what Pride is all about. Let's remember.
Yes. And back to the roots.
Yep, absolutely. So I'll give a quick drag queen story as well for my pirate story. Didn't happen this week, but it happened. So last Christmas time-ish, December, my partner surprised me with tickets to RuPaul's Christmas. They came to town. It was fantastic. Sasha Colby was one of the queens that came. She's my favorite. So as soon as
I saw her at RuPaul Christmas. I have seen her Christmas performance. It is bonkers.
I started crying. Just 1 second, I was fine, and the next one, which is not the usual reaction at a drag show, but I just love her so much that like my
brain. It's Sasha Colby though. If you don't feel every emotion upon seeing Sasha Colby, then you might be dead inside. Like I don't know what else to tell you.
Yes, absolutely agree. I absolutely adore her.
I hope that crying at a drag show is at least somewhat normal because at the drag show at GalaxyCon Columbus in December, I cried.
There was that one. Ooh, yeah, that one was special for me. Thankfully, I had a wall to support me because when Vico came out, my knees gave out. And thankfully, by that time, I was leaning in the wall, so I can just kind of hold on and hope that I didn't die. So understandable. Okay, so let's get started with today's episode. Let's talk about our lovely Wee John. So, Wee John, what do we know about Wee John? What is this backstory? What do we know in canon from the script?
I mean, yeah, canon, we don't have a ton to go on. I mean, we get a little, which is great because, again, great writers, they always give us a little bit to go on. But yeah, he learned sewing from his mother. Pyromaniac, aka a firebug.
He does like sewing.
Okay, yeah,
it's
true.
He does.
Dressmaking,
let's see what else.
Oh, and obviously he's very familiar with drag.
Yep.
We can infer heavily that when he does Calypso, it's not the first time that he's been in drag.
Yes.
That's correct. Yeah. We know from talking to the cast and from views at the script is that at some point it was going to be Wee John and his brother Big John, who was going to be smaller than him. But unfortunately, the actor was not able to make it, and we only got Wee John. So we know he's got a brother.
I was talking to Ringa at Pride today because I saw their booth at Pittsburgh Pride, and we were talking a little bit about the momentous event with the Izzy Bears All event, and that Khan revealed who he originally auditioned for, which was Buttons, which is amazing.
Yep.
But Ringo was talking about how before he had said that, there was speculation that the character he had auditioned for was Big John, which would have been also hilarious because he is not a very large man.
Yes,
he's not.
What I understand, that was the original. Like the actor that we're going to have was going to be very, very small or smaller, which is kind of easy to be smaller than Kristian Nairn. So
right.
They could just pick a normal person. Like,
okay, well, I am learning this fact. I'm learning this fact right now, live in this moment. I did not know this. Wait, so what? He was just going to be like another pirate, a big and a wee?
Yes.
Yep.
So it was going to be, I believe, brothers. They were going to be brothers that came together, and Wee was going to be Kristian, who is enormous, and then the normal sized actor was going to be Little John. Or I'm sorry, Big John. So it was going to be like the running gag.
I do like the idea if it had been Khan, because they both have accents from the UK, but quite different. So that would have been very funny. Yeah, I do enjoy.
From what I understand, he was also an Irish actor, so that would have been cool. He's also very polite. He apologizes when he hurts people and puts them to sleep, takes things from them. So a polite.
Yeah, like when he steals the wheel on a Jang ship, he's like, I'm so sorry. He's a sweetheart.
We also know that he has some gastrointestinal issues. I just rewatched episode 1 of season 2 last night. The only time a fart joke is appropriate, I did laugh, and they came from him.
Oh, yeah.
It's an interesting one because I was going to touch on this later. In that scene, they all kind of mumble things, and yet Izzy picks on Wee John to go, did you say something? And kind of threaten him with taking away his food. In the very first episode, again, they're all kind of mumbling and grumbling, but Steed picks on Wee John and goes, Wee John, what was that? So the interaction with other characters, especially with positions of authority, is interesting because I think it's one of those, what is it, if you go to jail or if you go to prison, pick on the biggest guy, a thing where they go, I need to put the biggest guy in his place so that I assert my authority, if you will.
That's really interesting.
I went on that one.
Good observation. That's a good observation. And I wonder what we can speculate about Wee John's childhood from that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably easy to assume that he was picked on and bullied and called out a lot. I don't think that's much of a stretch.
Talked about that. Yep, we talked about that in the Fang episode because Fang is also a giant teddy bear, and how easy it is for big people to, just by the fact that they're big, immediately be thought of as like violent or bullies or that kind of thing. And I'm trying really hard not to inject my knowledge of Kristian Nairn, since I read his book, into Wee John. But I kind of keep thinking things like that. Like he probably, even if he wanted to be gentle and soft, which obviously we find out that he does, because when given the opportunity, as they all have an opportunity to become themselves in season 2, he starts sewing. He's very polite. He seems to want to set things on fire less. He's busting through doors less. He's exciting about working in soup. So
yeah, I was gonna say he really thrives on the red flag. And I mean, obviously they were going to leave as a crew. That was just how it had to happen. But I think if he for some reason had stayed behind, he would have been completely fine. He would have been like, yeah, this is great. I love all these lovely fabrics. Everything smells nice. Why would I leave?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that question too. When you said, Belle, like I was trying not to sort of inject too much about what we know about Kristian into Wee John because we've read Kristian's book, which is amazing. But I also think that it's a strength of the show that the actors who play the not as central characters of the crew, who don't have a real like historical backstory or anything like that to draw from. Obviously, Ed and Steed and Izzy, who are and Ned Lowe, like who are historical pirates, very, very loosely inspired. But point is, the crew, who are new characters, the actors who play them had a lot of liberty to introduce a lot of themselves into the character. And because I think Kristian writes in his book about, his mom helping him make costumes as a boy. And I'm also thinking about, Roach being the chef and Samba is such an excellent baker. And I think
I was literally about to say that.
Yeah. But I think it's a really beautiful thing because we love the crew so much. And even the not major characters are such well-rounded and fascinating people. And I think that their realness and humanity comes from the actors just having the ability to be themselves and to have that like freedom to be themselves in a like playful, exploratory way. They didn't really have to try to put on this whole new character facade. They could just kind of be themselves, but play a little bit. I think that's a real strong point of the show. And that's also shown in how they weren't asked to do any accents or anything like that. And even in Kristian's book, in the Our Flag chapter at the end, I think it closes with Kristian talking to David Jenkins about the role. And Kristian's like, so do you want me to do an accent or anything? And David's like, no. And he says, are you sure? And David says, no, we just want you. We just want you. And I think it's a really beautiful thing that the actors could bring some of themselves to these characters.
Yes. And not only that, but also about like the tattoos, the fact that they didn't cover his tattoos, where in other roles he's had to have hours and hours of makeup so that his tattoos don't show, etc. So there was definitely a lot of that, which is lovely. They got to bring a lot of themselves into the roles.
I think his character is both, and I kind of put this in the outline, but his character both, like, he will use his size for intimidation if he has to, but it's not like he just walks around sort of assuming everyone's going to get out of his way. Like, he is at his core just like a nice person. Like, I'm thinking about, in the pilot when like the door opens, when everyone's screaming and chaos happening and he's just there in the doorway. It's very like, oh, he's meant to be scary, but he only does that when he absolutely has to. And he's just a guy. He's just a sweet guy. The rest of the time.
Let's also remember that the door didn't open. He knocked the door down.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah, it doesn't open. It just is gone.
Yes. What you're saying, Andrea, reminds me of, I think Kristian must have talked about this in We John Wednesday, but there were some deleted scenes of We John in season 2 when they start working at Jackie's. He gets the role of bouncer. There was a line in there, I think, where he said something like, I hate always getting the big guy roles, or something like that, or the big guy jobs.
Yes.
Then
That's
there was
so fascinating. I love that.
And then there was a follow-up moment to that when they take back the revenge. And I think it's when Steed gives Wee John the assignment to take the wheel, I think. But Steed says to him, I'm going to need you to do one more big guy thing. And Kristian was telling this story, like, he really liked that line, and he and Reese like had a lot of fun with it, and they kept cracking each other up in those scenes, but it didn't make it in. But I think that really speaks to what you were just saying, that he can use his size if he needs to, but he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to keep being fit into that mold.
Yep, that role for sure. Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's why we love him, because again, it's a non-toxic male character. Very nice, lovely, sweet when he's allowed to blossom. Much like Steed says at the beginning, they're lovely guys. They just carry a lot of trauma. And sure enough, once they're allowed to put down some of their burdens, some of their expectations, they all turn into the best version of themselves, which a lot of people consider. A lot of the complaints I've heard about season 2 is it seems like all the characters change. Yeah, Yeah, they did. That's what people do.
That's the major theme of the show.
Exactly.
Okay.
Into birds or otherwise.
Am I not online? I have never heard any of these things. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Well, I think
we all?
people.
I mean, I hope a little.
People are used to, especially in comedies, they're used to very bad writing, where comedies you get wooden characters, and you may get one or two characters that actually have actual proper human arches, but everybody else is puppets or muppets or one-dimensional. They become tropes. And then in some long-running shows, comedies, everybody is just a joke of a personality, right? So you usually get some sort of development and things like that in dramas, but in comedies you don't. It's just everything's for the laugh, and everybody picks just the biggest thing about the personality, and you just play that for laughs forever. And in this show, even though it's a comedy, everybody develops, everybody changes, everybody adjusts to the circumstances. And We John is no different. But yes, Andrea, believe it or not, that is some people's complaints about the show, is that everybody's out of character in the second season. So yeah. Haters are going to hate for sure.
I mean, if you've only ever watched like American comedies, A, that sucks for you. And B, I can understand why, seeing something that isn't just like pandering to an American audience is confusing to you. And I mean that Italy.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, and again, so many changes. So he talks about it. So he wanted to set things on fire less. His hair gets longer. He starts styling it differently. He sews a different kind of, or knits a different kind of shirt, a top for himself, much more colorful. Just a lot of really good changes just developing. And of course, culminating on becoming Calypso, the most amazing
creature to ever come out of the seven seas.
Yes. When we start the OFMD religion, we will worship at the feet of Calypso.
I have Calypso's birthday in my calendar.
That's correct.
October?
And
I want to say October 23. Let me look it up.
Oh, that's good. A pre-Halloween celebration.
Yeah, that's amazing. And my hope is that I will have a performer dressed up as Calypso officiating my upcoming nuptials. And by upcoming, I mean at some point within the next decade or so. I'm not sure when that's going to happen.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'm not a professional, but I'll do it for you.
Yeah,
that's so beautiful, Belle. I love that.
But yeah, so we love him. We love his changes. And speaking of that, who do we ship him with? Of course, that's the big question.
Yeah, because you're hornbag.
That's what we do in the show.
Really quickly.
Also, yes, I am a hornbag.
Really quickly, sorry. Calypso's birthday is October 19th.
October 19th.
It is a really good day.
Everyone put it in your calendars. It's the holiest day in the Calypson calendar. And we are all Calypsish.
Okay. I mean, you know how I am. I don't necessarily seek out reading ships of anything outside of Gentlebeard because I'm super basic. But I think if Frenchie was going to open his heart, because Frenchie is such a cautious little creature. I think if he was going to open his heart to anyone, Wee John would be a very safe person to open his heart to, and vice versa. I think they make sense together. Obviously, we have this in canon and that they're roommates in their little room, and like how quickly they get along and understand each other, and like, yeah, we're going to set this up. This is our reading nook and blah, blah, blah. But I think that Wee John needs to be with someone who is going to really see past his exterior, see past his past, and see who he is now. And I feel like Frenchie is very good at that.
Agreed. And that is, I think, that's who people ship Wee John with the most. You see it in almost everything I've ever read, where, especially when they're side characters, it's always Frenchie and John, whether they're roommates, partners, whatever, but you get that a lot. And that scene of them preparing to be roommates is probably one of the sweetest things in the history of television. They are so sweet to each other. Nobody makes fun of anybody. They just meet each other where they are. When Frenchie seems outraged by the fact that John says we could let people in, John immediately goes, of course, we don't have to. When Wee John thinks the drawing is upside down, and she goes, oh, I'm sorry, and just turns it around. Like, everything is very sweet. Not to mention the fact that it's heartbreaking when Wee John says, I've never been a room person, so that poor man's never had a room for himself.
Yeah, he said that I've been in a lot of rooms. I've never had a room.
Had a room. Completely heartbreaking. So it's fertile ground for a lot of shipping there.
I see them a lot in fics as queer platonic partners, which I think is really sweet. But I love their room people scene too. And I know this has been said a lot, but that room people scene especially speaks to how amazing our flag would be with just like fluff filler episodes that just explore different dynamics between the crew in all combinations, getting up to shenanigans. I would love that.
Absolutely. Oh, and the fact that both of them, once things go awry, they go, oh no, it's the room. And both of them just go, well, never mind. You can have it back.
Got bad vibes. Bad vibes.
Bad vibes. Bad juju there.
So, I think that is interesting because that kind of implies that Wee John is also quite superstitious, like Frenchie and like Roach to a certain extent. But we don't see a lot of that in canon. But the fact that he's also like, nope, we can't stay in the room anymore. It's cursed now. Shows that he's part of that.
Although there's also a possibility because of how sweet he is. Again, when Frenchie goes, why do we would invite people in? And Wee John goes, oh, you know what? No, we won't. It's fine. It could also be that Frenchie goes, oh no, this is bad juju now. And John goes, you know what? You're right. It does. Let's get out of here.
That's true. It's like, I support you.
Just so supportive.
Yes. Just so.
And you know what? Actually, now that I think of it, I think another ship that I would support, because my opinion is very important. I think another ship.
It is. That's why you're on the podcast.
Exactly.
Would be Wee John and Lucius. Actually, I think that would make a lot of sense to me. And that they
god! Just the gay is off the charts.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And they're both outsiders, right? That have found themselves in this like found family situation. I think that Lucius is one of the most empathetic characters, also one of the bitchiest, which is very funny. But I think that Wee John, honestly, kind of a close second in bitchiness, which is great. So they're both bitchy and they're both empathetic. And I think that would be a really fun pairing.
Oh, absolutely. John's got some of the best singers in the whole series. You know, what's going on in towels.
Best line. Yeah, what the hell is going on in towels?
What's going on in towels?
Another ship that I'm thinking of is Wee John and Roach. And I think I see them in combo because they're both caring and nurturing. Wee John has this softness and love of fabrics, and Roach cares for people, cooks for people, but they're also both like kind of violently insane. Wee John likes setting things on fire, and Roach likes waving his cleaver around. I think they both have that same kind of like double-edged sword to them of like soft and gentle, but also kind of unhinged.
Absolutely. I'll give you that 100%. Another one that I see is, of course, Izzy and Wee John, because Izzy is the ship bicycle. I don't think there's a single character that he has not been at some point ship with in fan fiction.
It is a fleet. He has a fleet of ships.
Oh my god. The ship bicycle is so foul.
Well, I love bicycles. Let's start with that. I think bicycles are amazing, especially city bikes.
As we discussed pre-recording, I can't ride a bike, so maybe that's why I'm offended.
Fair enough. There's obviously something to that because of the fact that they share the moment of the drag makeup putting on. Khan has spoken about how there was a line that was cut from there where Izzy says to Wee John, make me prissy, which granted would have spoiled the big reveal, but yes. So Andrea just made a face like, and that's exactly the face I made when I heard that. And I was like, that's my life. Exactly. So there's a lot of tenderness there. Plus, it's just hilarious that Wee John is enormous compared to Izzy. And they show especially that in the scene right after when they're getting tortured, when they're back to back, and Izzy just looks like a dog compared to Wee John. There may be a little bit of exaggeration there. They might have sat him lower just to make him look even more ridiculously small. But yeah, so there's always fun with that particular ship for me.
I see Wee John kind of hooking up with Lucius and Pete at some point, because the first time they hook up, he's just there.
Oh yeah, he's watching. That's right.
So he is the voyeur of that experience.
Yeah, he goes, "Yep, we're all here."
I could totally see when they're doing that one time, and Wee John's just there, and I don't know, maybe one of them's like, "Hey, you want to get in on this? And he's like, hell yeah, I could see that happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I still have another good one. What about Weejon and Fang?
They're together.
The cuddliest, sweetest,
just
pile of love.
Yeah, don't you just want to? I know. Don't you want to be the like in a big hug sandwich with those two?
I think it would just like completely cure me of everything that ails me.
Right, like a human security blanket and just amazingness. I couldn't even imagine. Speaking of,
I do think
Nairn gives amazing hugs. Just so we all know, if you haven't had the joy of
I
hugging
can confirm.
Kristian, yes, fantastic hugs.
Can confirm.
Well, I can't, but that sounds great and I'm jealous. But actually, I feel like Weejon and Fang are maybe too similar. They'd probably be more like best friends than they would be necessarily together. Although, I don't know. I mean, friends to lovers happens all the time. And then I think my crack ship would be Weejon and Archie.
Yes, I love it.
I mean, when you think of like Archie appreciates chaos. She is chaos. And she's just kind of down for whatever and just happy to be included. And I think they would have a lot of fun setting fires together, escaping out of snakes together. I think that she would be happy to go along with whatever he wants to do because she's just like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's throw him in garlic soup. Whatever. He can be in there too. Who cares?
Yeah, I see that.
Everything
I can
goes
see that.
With garlic soup. Yeah, let's go.
I'm also seeing now potential for Weejon and Jim. Could be a relationship, but at least a friendship over bonding over gender fuckery. At least before Izzy comes out, Jim is 100%. Really the other one who goes full drag at Calypso's birthday. And I think it'd be really fun to see scenes of Jim and Weejon together doing drag, talking about how to break gender norms. Yeah. And then maybe fooling around a little too.
Because why not? I mean, if you're there, might as well.
Because why not?
Exactly. Excellent. Anything we want to see Weejon do in season 3? What do we want to see from him?
More drag. So much more drag. So much more performing, lip syncing, DJing with whatever technology they have at that time. I don't know.
DJing at the speakeasy?
Yes. DJing at the speakeasy. And by DJing, I mean like changing artists around literally. Like
I love that.
And maybe he's also remixing them a little bit like you would a track, except it's someone playing an instrument, but then he's kind of like shaking them a little bit so that it like remixes.
Yes, that is amazing. You two come up with the best ideas. This is incredible. I am loving this. Yeah. I see this.
Like
I could see
DJing
doing this.
Ultimately, whoever Weejon wants to be with or not be with or whatever, let him live his best life. But he must be performing and music making, and that is a requirement.
Yeah, agreed. I would also love to see in season 3 the crew has to pull off some kind of fuckery. Maybe it's the Ed and Steed fake their deaths fuckery so they can ride off into the sunset, or it's some fuckery to get back at Ricky, and Weejon has to make all of the costumes and disguises for the fuckery, change everyone's gender, pull the wool over everyone's eyes with his costume making artistry.
I love that. And we all know that he must, until Izzy is brought back by Spanish Jackie and Buttons, grieve, because they were closer. They had those moments. They go on about Jim and their reaction to Izzy, but what about Weejon and what they've shared? So
yeah, and I think that's a really great point. Yeah, that he would really need to have his own feelings about that. And I think ultimately, like, Jim and Izzy had a longer time to establish that relationship because Jim was on the Kraken crew and Weejon was not. When someone touches your life in that way and then they're gone, like, of course that's going to have a effect on you one way or another. To that end, combine all our ideas and have Weejon, this is before Izzy arises from the dead like a decrepit zombie, have Weejon do some kind of drag tribute to Izzy.
Oh, beautiful.
That would be lovely.
That's a really good point about Weejon's relationship with Izzy, because I think it really does say something about his character, how willingly he turns to help Izzy with drag and kind of sees that that's something Izzy wants, because Wee John didn't have the experience with Izzy on the Kraken crew. So basically the last time Wee John and Izzy really had any significant interaction, I think, was when Izzy was telling him he was not going to give Wee John his rations if he keeps talking smack or something like that. Like, I know they interacted since then, but there isn't on screen, at least, any time we really see Wee John or the other crew members who were not on the Kraken crew seeing the changes in Izzy, yet Wee John is still so open to accepting him and welcoming him into the Calypso's birthday celebration, which is really sweet.
I agree. And you know what? That leads me to another point. Why didn't they take Wee John with him? If they took Jim, because they're an amazing fighter, if they took Frenchie under the guise of, I heard you can sew, John is even a better sew than Frenchie. So why did they leave Wee John behind and take Frenchie instead? So that
I don't know if Wee John was. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't know if Wee John was at least as good of a seamstress in season 2 or in season 1 as he was in season 2. I know he was kind of doing some sewing at the beginning. Yeah, and that like his mother taught him to sew. But it seems like that's a skill that really evolved for him throughout the course of the show.
Yeah. Well, and I think, and again, this is totally fine because I love the show and I don't care. But they did kind of like sort of reinvent Frenchie a little bit from the beginning of season 1 to the end of season 1, or the beginning. Like, he obviously has a lot of experience in doing a lot of different things, but I don't know if he's like, you know, him being the captain at the end of season 2, we're all kind of like, that's weird. Where'd that come from? And I think there was some sort of like not reinventing, but adding on to his character a little bit that wasn't explicit of like, oh, he's actually very good. He's good at boat, that we don't explicitly see. But
Go ahead.
Yes.
I said, on my dying day. Sorry. No, yeah. I will to my dying day say, I know that somebody said that David Jenkins said it's Captain Frenchie, but there's no indication that Frenchie is captain. And I know that he says, come on, all, let's go. But that's usually the job of the first mate or the boatswain. Awesome.
But then
so the captain is not the one.
The Christmas special?
Yes. Well, I don't know if it was a Christmas special. Well, obviously the Christmas special, but at the end of season 2, I guess the idea is because he's saying, come on, everybody, let's go. And he's the one yelling, let's get ready. That's not the job of the captain. So I will, until an actual season 3 comes up and he turns out to have been the captain, I am going to say nay to Frenchie being the captain of the Revenge. And I'm done with that point. Go ahead, Andrea. I interrupted you.
No, it's fine. And that is a fair point because, who knows what he's doing, what he's about. But I do think that something that Frenchie can do that I don't think anyone else can do is the way that he's such a jack of all trades. He knows so many things and he is so good at compartmentalizing. And I would imagine that that's something that was desirable to Ed, who's at that point, you know, full Kraken, like when he's thinking about putting a crew together, like he wants someone like Frenchie that will just do whatever and be able to like lock it away in a box. And he has a very wide variety of experiences that make him a good pirate. And love Wee John very much. We're talking about a whole episode about him, but I don't necessarily think of him in the same way as being like super capable of just doing anything and everything at any time. I think Frenchie's super adaptable and Wee John's a little more, I like things the way I like them.
That's fair enough. Also, Ed and Frenchie kind of bonded a little during The Best Revenge's Dressing Well. Frenchie kind of helped take some of the sting off of what the French people did to him, etc. So I could see that. I also could see both Izzy and Ed again being a little bit afraid of Big John, Wee John, because he is very big and very, very, very strong. So kind of like the let's beat up the biggest kid. let's maybe not take with us the strongest person in the crew who may be still loyal to Steed. Let's maybe not risk it.
That's a good point. And we do see in the pilot episode when shit goes down with the Navy that Wee John is very quick to come to the defense of his friends. And at least for why he wasn't chosen for the Kraken crew, there could be maybe Ed saw that. And to your point, Belle, thought that maybe Wee John would be a threat to Ed's command on the Kraken crew because Wee John would try to protect his friends and probably especially try to protect someone like Frenchie.
Yep. So there's some of that as well.
Speaking of, I won't go on about it because it's not the Frenchie episode, but I feel like I'm in the minority. I don't know why, but I really like Frenchie as captain. And when I heard that he was captain, it like felt really right to me. And yeah, I will not go down the rabbit trail. I will keep it focused on Wee John. But I liked Frenchie as captain. And I think it'd be really fun to see in season 3 the exploration of Frenchie as captain and then Wee John kind of like, I feel like it's, like behind every like powerful person is like a loving partner or something like that. And I could see Frenchie kind of trying to explore the role as captain and Wee John is there in the background supporting him, loving him, caring for him, making his clothes, mending his clothes. I think that'd be really sweet to see.
I love it. Chloe, I am volunteering you for the Frenchie episode because we do need to do that one, by the way. We have not done Frenchie yet. And
okay, I would do that and I will defend.
Wow. I don't know where
I will defend Frenchie as captain that episode.
We've done surprisingly few, so we've covered some of them a lot.
We've covered
but then we haven't covered Frenchie we haven't covered Frenchie or the Swede or Pete. I'm trying to get us.
Stop talking about Frenchie. Save it for the next one.
Yes. Okay, so go back to Fix. What do you like to see? What would you like to see that you haven't seen John do and be in Fix, specifically when we all go off canon and just go into our own happy worlds?
I would love to see more gender fuckery in Wee John's backstory and life and what got him into piracy, what got him into doing drag. And I think a fairly plausible story is that his gender nonconformity and love of drag and fine fabrics and sewing made him not fit into society, and he found a life on the high seas. Since I am primarily always a Steed girly, I would love to see fics of Steed and Wee John interacting together. I was actually hoping to find this when I was looking for some fics to recommend for this episode. I was hoping to find maybe something of Steed and Wee John bonding over their love of fine fabrics. And I think that that's something that Reese and Kristian have bonded over in real life, that they both love fine clothes, dressing up, costumes, feeling good in themselves and what they're wearing. And like we were talking about earlier with how the actors have had liberties to bring some of themselves into the characters, I think that particular dynamic between Reese and Kristian would have been fun to bring into their characters in Steed and Wee John. So I think I'd love to see that in Fix. Steed and Wee John bonding over fine fabrics, talking about gender nonconformity, maybe bonding over probably getting bullied growing up too. I think that'd be really sweet to see.
Yeah, 100% agreed. And that is one of my favorite things in Fix is that you very, very, very often see Wee John as a drag performer of some kind, especially, of course, in modern AUs. It never fails. Or a tailor or a costume designer or something to that effect. I see that a lot. And one of the very first Fix that I read with Wee John, I remember specifically was, and I cannot for the life of me remember who they were in this fic with. I don't remember if it was Izzy or Frenchie or even maybe like Ivan or something. It was somebody else. And they were, of course, about to have sex because it's me. And it was something to the effect where the other character said, like, can I call you daddy or something? Or can I call you like big man? And he said, actually, I would prefer to be Like, and they went the feminization route instead when they were, can you actually call me like your pretty little girl? And they did, and it was lovely and hot and amazing. So I love that as well, when Wee John gets to, again, be whatever he wants to be. Soft, lovely, good girl. So yeah, I love those.
Can someone write me a fic where it's a universe where Wee John is RuPaul and has her own drag competition show, and then the rest of the crew are contestants? Somebody write that for me. That sounds really
Fanfic
fun.
writers assemble.
I would read the shit out of that.
That will be amazing. Which is actually a fairly good segue into what we want to see Kristian Nairn do. And I would love to see him in roles where he gets to be fabulous and wear incredible costumes and not be the big guy dressed in a potato sack. And where he just gets to be flamboyant and loud and amazing. And that would make me very happy to get to see that.
I want to see him as a judge on RuPaul's Drag Race UK.
Yeah, how will that happen?
I would want your opinion.
Yes, that sounds like perfection. Anything else we'd want to see Kristian Nairn do?
I mean, I think I say this every episode, but like, I would love to see, you know, these sort of, I don't want to say overlooked actors, or perhaps typecast actors in a gay romance. I think there are a lot of cute, like, gay man romances, you know, rom-coms, or a lot of Christmas movies. Oddly enough, gay men. They're always, all those exist, but they're always a very stereotypical gay, right? I would love to see him play a romantic lead in a gay romance. I think that would be a more realistic picture of what life looks like, you know, not just the Hallmark men.
Agreed. Exactly. Yeah.
I would love him to, I don't know if he would ever do this, but I would love to have him write something and maybe star in it or make his own little movie or something, because he's such a good writer in his book. And I know that he's working on poetry right now. And I just think he's a really heartfelt and funny storyteller. So I would love to see him do something of his own.
Agreed. I also would like to see him read more fanfic like he did at cons because his face was just incredible. Or just have somebody else read fanfic to him and watch him react, because it was absolutely amazing. It was great.
I loved when he drew the little shocked face on the paper and just held it up to the camera.
So that would make me happy as well. We just need to see more of Kristian Nairn, and that's it. Also, I want him to do more DJing gigs, especially in places where I can go and dance to his music. I got the pleasure at Airport Con, and I'm not going to lie, I'm generally not a big fan of DJs. And then I went to be polite, and I absolutely loved it. He did such an amazing job. And then, of course, I got to dance around Vico for a little bit. So that was also incredible. But yeah, so I would love to be able to go to more of his gigs if he gets gigs. No, probably around Texas. It's unlikely, but I'll travel.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was like, yeah, girly, non-gender. I don't think he's coming to Texas.
Okay, so there are places in Texas a person can go. Austin is a good one. Austin, Houston, if you stay to the inside the loop, and maybe possibly Dallas. But yes, it would be great if.
Listen, I'm sure he'll be here soon. Just come over. We'll go.
Exactly. I'll travel for this crew. I've done it before. I'll do it again. Any other thoughts about Wee John before we wrap this up?
I think this episode, recording this, has inspired me to rewatch and just watch him the entire time, because I feel like when I signed up to do the episode, I was like, yeah, I know this character. And then as we're talking about it, I'm like, do I know this character? What do I really know? And I feel like I would love to really zero in on him and his experience, because I had sort of not written him off. That's not the right phrase, but I had put him as like, oh, well, we know even less about him than other people. Like, he's not Jim. He's not Lucius. You know, he's like down here. And as we're talking, I'm like, we actually know a lot about him, and he's very important to so many scenes. I just sort of like, I don't know, didn't internalize. So everyone rewatch, but just watch Wee John the whole time.
I could definitely.
I would love to do that.
Yeah. And
I think that's worth doing with everyone.
I was going to say, that's exactly, and I think that's why we've hit some of the bigger characters, but I'm not saying neglected it, well, we've put off doing some of what we would imagine as quote unquote the smaller characters. But the writing is so good, and the And they do such a good job of doing things in the background and yet not pulling focus from the main action, that if you start to actually think about it, you go, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Before you know it, you're like, actually, there's a lot to talk about here. It's incredible.
Totally. Yeah. And that's such an indication of just an incredibly written show and everything the actors bring to the characters as well.
Because it's very easy for characters to be one-dimensional. For actors to just go, yeah, yes, I'm here just to be funny, or I'm just here to do this and that. And instead, you get these amazingly rich characters.
Something that I just really love about We John is, well, zooming out from that, something I just really love about the show is how queer it is. And I've talked about this before, but not just in the, primary queer relationship between Ed and Steed, not just that it's a queer romance, but that just like queer culture is so imbued in everything in the show, the costumes, the characters, the background stories, everything. And it just really feels so unapologetically queer. And We John is such a huge part of that, especially when he comes on as Calypso. But I think even before then, with his knitting, his sewing, his love of aesthetic, I was remembering
his
the doll,
fire,
his chaos.
Yeah.
I'm also remembering the line in Calypso's birthday when they decide to have the party, when they're talking about like, it's just been so slow around here. All we've done is rearrange furniture. And We John goes, well, the flow is undeniable. No. So he's got that aesthetic. Like this just
guy.
So his character is just so central to just how authentically and unapologetically queer the show is, and I think that really culminates in Calypso.
Chloe, you need to stop making me want to start bursting into tears at every episode we're in together. But so the amazing thing about this show is that it's not a world in which queer people happen to exist. It is a queer world. It is obviously all over. It's imbued. It's in the air. It's everything.
Yes.
And so it's literally what we would choose if we had a choice of how the world should be. It would be that,
Yes. And I think that's when I've tried to think about like, what is it about this show that hit me in the heart? Because I've known other queer stories, but this felt different. And I think that's a huge part of it. And this is maybe going to be my soapbox a little bit this time, but I actually don't like it when people say or talking about how this is like a whole queer world and they say it's like a world without homophobia, because I don't agree with that.
100%.
There is homophobia in this world, and there is queer trauma and pain.
Yeah, who do you think the Badmintons are? Like, what do you think they're doing? Exactly. Like, there is homophobia because characters are bullied and othered and struggle with gender boxes and sexuality boxes. Steed has a whole compound storyline. Like, it's very much a part of the show. And you can't have, I don't feel like you can have a story that is so true to the queer experience and erase that history of trauma and pain, but it doesn't wallow in that pain and trauma. It doesn't erase that experience, but it doesn't focus on that as the defining feature of the queer experience either. It's not like just this sort of trauma porn about queerness, but it doesn't erase it. And that's so important to me. I don't see that too often anymore, but sometimes I've seen some takes of it's liberation from homophobia, and it's just not. It's not, but it's so queer. The good, the bad, the joy, the hurt, everything.
Exactly.
The whole richness of the queer experience.
Con said yesterday, some of the most homophobic people will be queer people. So some people, right? And so there's that as well. And I love the fact that, again, generally we've got a lot of shows where it's queer, let's kill the gays, and in here it's let's kill the homophobes. So it's just wonderful. It's lovely, and that's why the show has become my personality. People,
same.
Right. And I think bringing it back to Wee John in particular, his character at first glance could be typecast as this big mean guy. right? Like that's who, you know, if you didn't, well, actually, yeah, when I started watching the show, I was like, oh, there's the big guy. Like I didn't think about it any further. And so quickly he's established as having all these layers and, you know, not being afraid of the feminine and, you know, with his little veil that he's wearing, you know, in the pilot. And I think Wee John really exemplifies the fact that the queerness is baked in, but it's not without conflict. I think that's his character really speaks to that.
Yes, so much is just really embodied in him as a character. And that now that we're talking about this, now going back to something I'd love to see more of, I'd love to see more interactions between Wee John and Ed. Andrea, when you said, you know, when you first meet Wee John, at first you could just be like, oh, that's the big guy. And I think there's a moment when Ed first meets him too, that he has the same experience. Because when Ed is on the Revenge for the first time and he's meeting the crew and he does his little cringe rope swing and is like, hello everyone, I'm Blackbeard.
Yeah.
And
bad for your knee, my dude, don't do that.
Or he's walking around
He's so
the whole
cool.
new boss thing where he's like, hi everyone.
Yes, that whole thing. When he comes to Wee John, he kind of playfully, but sort of like puffs himself up a little bit. Like, oh, here's the big guy. Like, I'm going to size up against him. And I think, and then Ed is also someone who has this journey to go through with softness and vulnerability. And I think for Ed to meet Wee John for the first time and just be like, oh, here's the big guy, I got to puff myself up. And then to learn who Wee John really is with his softness and his tenderness and his queerness and his drag. I think like I could see that being such a journey for Ed, learning who he is from watching some of Wee John. I think that'd be really cool to see in Fixed or season 3.
Yep, absolutely. Oh, it's so lovely. So now let's go.
My last Wee John comment.
Yeah.
I love, this is totally unconnected to everything else, but another Wee John like one-liner I love is when in season 2, when they're on the red flag and they come upon the Revenge having been through the storm, and Wee John goes, maybe it's been through that triangle thing in Bermuda. I love that line.
We need to rewatch and count the zingers. And I know this is more of a writer thing than it is like a Kristian Nairn thing, but they give him because he does such a good job with them. When he goes,
so good.
I have an uncle named Margaret, and he goes, yeah, but Margaret's an either or name. But
Yes.
That's so much. It's such a good line. He's got some of the best lines in the show. He's incredible.
He also has the best side eye in the business.
Yes, incredible side eye. Absolutely.
Oh yeah. So that maybe that's something to look out for when you do your Wee John focused rewatches. Facial expressions, side eye.
I'm going to change my Blue Sky handle to incredible side eye.
It's a skill. There's a real art form to some good side eye.
Absolutely. Okay, my friends. So what are your fic recs for this amazing character that we all adore?
Okay, I'll go first because mine is, y'all know I don't know how to use tags on AO3. So I was like trying to search. I don't know what I found. I feel like a lot of the fics that I read, you know, he's just a side character. So now I was like trying to search for things where he's more than a side character. I don't know that I found that much, but I found some really fun things that I enjoyed. So the first one is Thanks for Your Message by Harley's Holiday. And it's about Lucius and Frenchie and Wee John like running a podcast that like outs bad people in Silicon Valley, where I lived for a little bit. It's very niche, but I really like it. It's silly. It's like got one chapter, so it's a work in progress, but I enjoyed the premise, thought it was fun. So yeah, again, that's Thanks for Your Message by Harley's Holiday. And then I found this other one called It's Us by Quarter Life Crisis Activated, which is a great name. So I don't know if y'all have seen the movie Us by Jordan Peele. It's a scary, and I don't always like scary movies. Yeah, it's really scary. And so this very clever person wrote a fic that is like the same premise. So it's post season 2. Only like a handful of the crew is on the Revenge, including Frenchie and Wee John. And their like doppelgangers show up on like a doppelganger revenge and try to kill them. And it's actually very creepy. I haven't finished reading it yet because I have to take breaks, but I'm really enjoying it. It's really fun. So yeah, I recommend that one.
I love the movie Us. I realize what you're talking about now. I heard S. I was like, I don't know that movie. But Us is a phenomenal movie.
Yes.
It is. And it is. And they gave me nightmares for weeks. And I still have like flashbacks every once in a while ago. And just the way that this fandom does things. I mean, it would never in a million years go. I would never go. And that means death. And I love this. It's incredible. The amount of talent and creativity in this fandom is just out of this world.
It's a crazy idea. And it's interesting too, because it jumps right from like, there's like the first chapter is like some cute, gentle, beardy stuff, but pretty much right away we're into the action. And again, it is very scary. This person is able to like the way they describe the doppelgangers, I was like, what the fuck? That's so scary. So if you're into creepy things, read It's Us by Quarter Life Crisis, because it's good.
So trivia question, which Our Flag Means Death cast member is in Us?
Okay, well, for anyone who can't see, we're confused.
Yeah. No, hold on. Give me a second.
I don't know. I'm trying to think who would be available. Where do they film it? Question 1.
I don't know, but there is a notable Our Flag cast member.
Is it Samson?
No,
it's not Samson.
The cast member is not a member of the crew of the Revenge. As a hint.
Okay.
Damn, I'm usually like so good at trivia, but you got me.
Yep, I'm stumped.
No?
Go
okay.
for it.
It is Doug. Doug, no last name, is in Us. Tim Heidecker is the father of the like white family that runs in the house.
Yeah. Dang, that's an impressive role, because that's hard. You're playing you and yourself.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah. Go Doug.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to have to rewatch and have nightmares again.
Doug Tim.
I love it. Chloe, what about you?
He's also kind of a chameleon, though. Oh, okay.
No. Yeah. You're right. And he blends very well.
I see Tim Heidecker in stuff, and I'm just like, you look so different in everything I have seen you in. So I think he's kind of hard to recognize. Okay, my fic rec, I just have one. It's called Fuck's a Look by Gaydreaming. And the fic is basically post Calypso's birthday, Weejon gives most of the crew gender euphoria by giving them a look and becomes the like makeup drag artist for the crew. Like he does that for Izzy, and then gradually one by one other members of the crew come to him and are like, hey, so about that look, how do you do that? And it's just very sweet.
Oh, I love that. And you do get to see some of that in fics, which I adore. And that's one of my recs. So it's called Beautiful by SkyFireForever. And the summary is Izzy's always struggled to feel beautiful. We makes it easy. And of course, then they fuck about it because I do explicit photos, but specifics. But yeah,
I think if you ever recommend something or talk about reading something where there's not fucking, like that would be the thing where like, it's like, how would you know if I've been kidnapped and it's like a cry for help, or it's not really me, or it's like, and they're like, that's how we would know. Yeah. Or if you're like, I don't know, there's just like too much sex in this one, it would be like, okay, Bell's
becoming,
he's being kept against his will. Like this is the warning sign. We need to send someone over there.
Bell's the Hyapod person. We gotta go in there.
Yes,
like, that's exactly right.
There's an alien inhabiting their body. Like I don't know, they're not themselves. Something's wrong.
That being said, if there is a series where like it's, 8 different fics or something and it's all a big story and some of them are explicit and some of them are not, I will read, if it's a great series, I will read those general audiences or those teams.
Okay.
But yeah, you're
that is good to know, so we won't like send in the cavalry if you're talking about something that's part of a series. We'll know that exactly that's things are still safe. Okay.
I mean, but also if you want to con us into coming to visit you, just do that, because then we'll have to show up.
And then all of a sudden everybody shows up with pickaxes and torches. And I'm like, just kidding. I just wanted to say hello, everyone.
I'm lonely, so I tried to scare you.
But we're like busting down the door like Weejon, be like, where's Belle?
Exactly. I'll put up with having to buy a new door if you all come visit me. It'll be great. My other fic is called A Gift for Calypso, and that one is a Weejon Ned Low fic, and it's a little dark.
Andrea, your face.
I was like, No.
It's a dark one where Ned soothes the goddess's wrath. So John basically gets to punish Annette though in a sexy way. In a sexy way. So yeah, maybe a little dark for you and just you and that one. But if anybody is into,
I'll read Belle's recommendation. I think that's more, or not Belle, your Belle, Chloe. I'll read Chloe's recommendation. That's probably a little more my speed, but I love everything that you say and do, so it's fine.
Thank you, my darling. And this makes me very excited about the upcoming episode we're about to record, because if you thought that if that made you make that face, those episodes are going to be fantastic.
Are you talking about the kink one?
The kink ones, yeah.
Okay, I was just thinking that if Andrea comes for that, I think you're going to need to record video with that one as well, just to get the faces.
Yeah, we might have to do a couple little Instagram clips of my terror.
Yes. I think that would be a fantastic. I think maybe that could be the cover of the episode.
Yes,
I love it.
That's hilarious.
So, well, that leads us to what are we all doing and what are we working on and looking forward to? Chloe, go ahead.
Oh my god, I'm leaving for Aotearoa on Friday.
Yay!
I haven't started packing yet. So what I'm working on is packing. What I'm looking forward to is to be on the sea where it all happened.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get a tattoo.
Yeah.
Yay!
So exciting. Yeah. But what am I doing? Nothing. What am I looking forward to? Nothing. But yeah, people should keep listening to this podcast because we talk about funny things. Come back.
I am also looking forward to you recording the kink episode.
Yes. So I will say, I don't know when this is going to come out, of course, but today is June the 1st. So happy Pride Month, everybody. And
happy
of course,
Pride.
I'm absolutely looking forward to celebrating Pride loudly and proudly and making all the homophobes uncomfortable. So that's...
Oh, yeah.
For some reason in Long Beach, we do Pride Month not in June, which is so stupid.
Yeah, when I was with you, you were driving me around Long Beach and you were like, yeah, they're having their Pride right now. I'm like, what? No, that was 3 weeks ago. It was mid-May.
We just have to be different. We just can't be like LA. We got to do our own thing. Sometimes it's August. Sometimes it's May. It was May this year, so it already passed. But yes, happy actual Pride. Normal Pride for everybody else. Happy Pride to all. And I forgot. I do have something I'm looking forward to. I will be going to Vico's Drag King show that they're doing in LA.
Oh my god, yes.
So I am doing
here. I can't wait to hear about that.
Oh, and that same week, I'm going to go to Bob the Drag Queen stand-up. So I'm going to have a good week that week.
Amazing. That's going to be a great week. That's amazing. Yeah, for me, I'm still doing my fic recording, my podfics, still working on Late Blooms. I know it's forever, but there's so many sound effects on that one that it's taking me forever to record. Going to be doing some more things and I will be reading some non-explicit material for the show, so they'll be great.
Okay, again, glad you're telling us, so we know that that's coming. We know you're okay, and
that is correct.
There's no alarm bells.
And I'm very much looking forward to recording our kink episodes coming up. Very, very excited about that. So yeah, it's been a fantastic episode as always, my friends. I enjoy talking to you all. I enjoy Chloe opening up all my little oniony layers, like an onion or an ogre, and having me start crying at some point and myself.
This apparently it's gay pirate therapy. That's what we're doing here, I guess.
Absolutely. So until next time, my friends, do creations, be cringe, commit crime. Oh, halt! Talk to us. Follow us.
Don't commit crime yet.
Don't be cringe
yet. Email us first.
Email us
first, then commit crime.
Email us if you want to talk to us. Follow us, Our Flag Means Fanfiction and Blue Sky and Instagram, Our Flag Means Fanfiction at gmail.com if you want to recommend things, if you want to be part of the show, if you want to record a podfic, record an episode and pass it on. We don't gatekeep. Whatever you want to do, we will put on the air. Do anything. Be involved with us in any way, shape, or form. Do talk to us. We'd love to hear from you. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Write us a review so people can find us. And now, until next time, do creations, be cringe, commit crime, and happy Pride, everyone.
Bye.
Yay, happy Pride. Bye.